In this lesson, we're going to take a look at going a little bit further with exponents. We're used to things that look like this, 2 to the third power. What does it actually stand for? Oh, it actually stands for 2 times 2 times 2 gives you 8. Done. But have you seen this before? What if I have 2 to a negative third power? Well, that's what we want to take a look at is how do you handle an exponent with a negative exponent, a problem with a negative exponent. Well, here's essentially what this means. In order to solve this, the item with the negative exponent, if you can picture a fraction in your head, what you do in order to solve this is if it's got a negative exponent, what it means is that's going to force you to the bottom of your fraction. Okay? And by doing this, it actually makes the exponent positive. Now, because the negative exponent forced this entire item into the bottom of my fraction, something has to go up top to hold the spot. And that something is a simple 1. So, a number with a negative exponent forces it into a denominator position, and then I just solve from there. But I could write my answer kind of like this depending on what the question's asking. So what is 2 to the negative third? It's actually 1 over 2 to the third, which is the same as 1 over 8. So essentially, it's the reciprocal of what the initial answer is. Now, the weird thing is the negative exponent had nothing to do with positive or negative. It simply forces it to the bottom of a numerator. Or I'm sorry, bottom of a fraction, which is your denominator. So let's take a look at some examples, see if it makes sense. 4 to the negative second, well, I'm going to push that to the bottom of my fraction, which would be 4 to the second, because that's what the negative exponent tells me is it tells me to push it to the denominator. Alright, it doesn't tell me to make it negative, it tells me to push it to the denominator. And once I do that, the exponent becomes now positive. So 4 to the negative second is the same as 1 over 4 to the second, which is 1 over 16. Okay, so again, it's almost like the reciprocal, because 1 over 16 is the reciprocal of what 4 to the second was, which was 16. So if you need a shorter way to kind of look at it, that would be the shorter way to look at it. Do what 4 to the second is in your head and then just put a 1 over top of it. So let's try your short way here. What's 5 to the 6th power? I don't know either. I need my calculator. Let's check it out. Okay, the calculator says it's 15,625. So in essence, I mean, that's what you're dealing with here is 15,625. And I could just put a 1 over top of it. Alright? If I'm going back, it would be like, hey, look, this negative exponent is forcing my item into my denominator, which would be a now positive 6. So you're looking at 1 over 5 to the 6th power. If you want a shorter way, do the exponent and put a 1 over top. So let's look at a 1 to a power. Well, guess what? 1 to a power is kind of boring because what's 1 to any power? 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Look, even if I put it in the denominator, it's 1 over 1 to the 22nd power, which is 1 over 1, which is 1. So guess what? Anything basically 1 to a power is going to be 1. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'll give you one final example. 8 to the negative 4th power. Well, that's the same as putting this in the denominator, so that would be 1 over 8 to the positive 4th power. That's what the negative exponent's telling you to do. It has nothing to do with positive or negative. What it's telling you to do is it actually wants to be pushed to the denominator, and then you would just figure this out, whatever 8 to the 4th power is, and that's your final answer with that. So At this point, I just wanted to introduce what a negative exponent is. It has nothing to do with negatives. It simply forces that item, that term, to get pushed into the denominator. Okay, good luck.